What's going on, guys? It's back, and today we got to talk about crypto collapsing, and not the price of cryptos, but the platforms that people had cryptos on, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, basically anything, even stable coins, could be at ultimate risk of losing everything because these platforms are going broke. Already started to see this in this crypto world with Celsius basically collapsing, pausing withdrawals, and they're on the brink of collapse. We have another Asian firm that has collapsed. We have 3AC that is collapsing, and a lot of people had exposure to 3AC. So there's just so much things going on that is not very good. And the age-old saying of not your keys, not your coins reigns true. If you have any crypto at all on any exchanges, I mean, even things like Coinbase, Gemini, FTX, Binance, all those exchanges, put them in cold storage, especially if you have coins on things like Voyager, BlockFi. They're showing extreme signs of maybe things are not going very well for them. And you want to get out before the music stops and ultimately the game is not fun anymore and you lose all of your money because nobody wants to go through. But someone who did a really good job kind of explaining these, has a great thread, and he continues to add tweets to it all the time when new news comes out or updates come out, is Dylan LeClaire. He's actually he is like an on-chain analyst for Bitcoin, and he has just a great thread here. We're going to go through some of these tweets and how there's warning signs on the wall for Voyager and BlockFi, just like there was with Celsius, and everyone called, people like Dylan LeClaire insane because they said, guys, Celsius, it looks bad, looks insolvent, things are going to get bad. People said, no way, things are fine, and then they stopped withdrawals and now they're collapsing. So right here, this is the start. Crypto Contagion. So a whole lot of funds, companies, and products blew up their treasuries with UST yield on Anchor. Billions of dollars of promises gone. I wouldn't want to have any value in a crypto yield product. I suspect we have some yet to be announced insolvencies here. This was over a month ago, this thread. That's just how old this thread is. He keeps adding to it, and we're going to get to new tweets. But we are really seeing this aftermath of everything that went wrong with Luna and UST, and how people and companies were promising these yields. So things like Voyager have yields for your crypto you put there. BlockFi has yields for your crypto you put there. Celsius did. All these different kind of platforms have these yields. And how do they get those yields? They have to lend out your money, or a lot of people went to UST, put the money in Anchor, and got a 10% yield, paid back like 9% and took 1% for profit. And now that UST collapsed to nothing, they had billions of dollars in promised returns that they no longer can do. And this all started with Celsius, which we can look at the Cell token, which was down 96% from its all-time highs a couple weeks ago, and it's still continuing to go downwards. And then obviously what a rush for liquidity looks like in an illiquid market. The Cell token collapsed just as Celsius collapsed, paused withdrawals. Things are not looking good. And what happens in this case, when you have an exchange or a platform that pauses withdrawals, you become an unsecured creditor. You become someone who they take your money to pay off their bankruptcy filings and proceedings, and you just lose your money because you're an unsecured creditor. You're not high at the totem pole for getting paid back during bankruptcy. You're the very bottom. So maybe if there's money left over, you might get a couple bucks, but chances are you're just going to lose everything because the companies were irresponsible, and this yield that looked risk-free, it wasn't risk-free at all. And here we see an Asian crypto lender completely suspending withdrawals, and they are collapsing. Babel Bible Finance, they are collapsing. Whenever something pauses withdrawals, that means they don't have the money to process withdrawals, or they don't have the coins. Or if like, so you're trying to withdraw Bitcoin and you want to withdraw 1 Bitcoin, but they only have half a Bitcoin, you can't do your withdrawal. They don't have enough. So they freeze withdrawals, hoping and that maybe they can make it through without, collapsing, but they're going to collapse just like all the other ones. And it's just crazy, everything going on. And this is kind of smaller. I'm sure maybe this is big in Asia. Obviously, no one would really know it in the US. But the one we do know in the US is BlockFi, which is struggling to raise cash. And like it says here, writing on the wall, guys. So we can see This whole thing is actually crazy. Crypto lender BlockFi struggling to raise cash despite offering a steep discount on its valuation. Down here, so their last fall raised $400 million in funding, valued the company at $5 billion. Now they've been trying for a month to raise $100 million at a valuation of $1 billion, an 80% haircut over a year over their last funds raised, which is not a good sign. So first of all, cutting valuation, not good. Second of all, cutting valuation and on top of that, not getting money, very not good. Could be insolvent at some point. Obviously, they need the $100 million to pay out some sort of whatever their liabilities are right now. They're a lending platform. They have lowered their rates. One thing BlockFi did do is lower their rates. So maybe BlockFi can make it out of this and not have to, completely collapse like these other platforms that kept rates at 9%, 8%, or even like 6 or 7%. They might be at a better position for that, but it's still not looking good for them. And then moving on to Voyager. So Voyager is the big one where you think Voyager could be in lots and lots of trouble. They didn't really move their rates too much during their times, so it was pretty much the same for like Bitcoin and stuff. But we see, so this was before this kind of big news was really coming out about 3AC that they were involved with. But speculation, so it's a quarterly report for Voyager, loaned $320 million to a Singapore-based entity named Counterparty B. One has to wonder whether Counterparty B was 3AC, and if so, how much of a hit Voyager took. Their shares obviously are collapsed. I mean, the Voyager shares are terrible. We can see right here. Just look at that. Just absolute destruction from $30 per share was the peak at now 57 cents. They're down like 96%. It's just collapsed to nothing. There's no confidence. And for a $30 stock to come all the way down to 30 or 57 cents, that's insane moves. I wouldn't want to be in this stock. I mean, you would think it's just going to zero at this point. That's exactly what this looks like. It coincides exactly with a Bitcoin and crypto run up. Big run up, $30 per share, and then a major collapse, 96%. And then we have the outbreak of the news here for Voyager and 3AC, saying Voyager is insolvent, which is most likely, if this is true, which seems to be, that Voyager's exposure to 3AC consists of 15,250 Bitcoin and $350 million worth of USDC. And 3AC has not repaid requested amounts. Onward, Voyager failure to repay by June 27th will constitute an event of default, and Voyager intends to pursue recovery from 3AC. Doesn't really matter if they pursue recovery. The money's gone. I mean, how are you going to get it if this 3AC already went under and kind of collapsed? How are you going to get your money? They can't just print money and send it to you. So if Voyager lost over 15,000 Bitcoin and $350 million, that's insane amounts of money. And all they got is a line of credit from FTX or Elmera. One of these companies got that. I think BlockFi got FTX loan and Voyager got an Elmera one, or vice versa. But they only got it for $250 million or $300 million, which isn't even enough to cover their stablecoin losses, not to mention the 15,000 Bitcoin that are lost. So I don't know where they're going to get this money from. If they can't get the money, then they are probably going to pause withdrawals, and Voyager is going to be in trouble of going bankrupt. And if you have your money on Voyager or your crypto on Voyager and they freeze withdrawals, you are in a terrible spot, because if something happens and they go bankrupt, you could lose all of your money. Nobody wants to happen and be subject to. So, well, you can. They already lowered the amounts to $10,000 a day. They're like daily limit. So if you got to get your money out, you can get it out, put it in cold storage, not your keys, not your coins. Make sure to take control of your Bitcoin and crypto and not leave it in the hands of these exchanges and lending platforms that have proven they're pretty irresponsible. And if they go under, you don't want to go under with them. Just to leave this video off with a this is a pretty funny meme here with 3 arrows capital to half the lenders in the crypto industry. That is how we'll leave this video off, guys. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in my next video.
Listen up. You didn't lose your money. Now, you have your... Technically, you kind of lost your money.